So how to begin the review for the game that has most affected my entire life? Personally, I think there are many games deserving of the number one placement of many various different categories in our own personal favorite games lists of all time. And this is a hell of a lot deeper than, your top 10 greatest shoot-em-ups, your top 10 greatest side-scrollers of all time. No, I'm talking on a much deeper level. Now, Wing Commander is not my favorite game of all time. It is definitely up there. But Wing Commander is not even my favorite of the Wing Commander series. Wing Commander 3 is my favorite overall. The Wing Commander series. I think my Manager 6 is probably my favorite game of all time, but you really don't have to lower the quality of the particular game you are covering by placing it, say, a fifth. Say this is my fifth favorite game of all time or something. No, it's not. You don't have to demean the quality of a game by placing it lower on the list, especially if when you dig deep inside your soul, there's a number one placement for these games. Not so long ago, I did a review of Pool of Radiance, and with Pool of Radiance, I said, Pool of Radiance, well, it's the game with the most memorable story I've ever played. Years after you first beaten it, it just sticks with you. So much of that story sticks with you. So with Pool of Radiance, it's the number one in terms of a story that sticks with you. With Wing Commander here, it has most affected my entire life. Listen to this glorious, glorious music. We'll start with the music, shall we? Now, this truly heart-wrenching music is part of the reason I decided to cover the Amiga version in particular when I have the DOS version of Wing Commander. I have the Kilrathi Saga, which was the Windows 95 version, which is humorously the only game that I've ever had that has gone up in value. I don't think it's worth as much as it once was, but it's still up there. As we now see the credit for George Sanger, the Fat Man, and Dave Govett, as well as the Amiga music being by Mark Knight, and this Amiga music so touches my soul. And yes, I have the MT32 for my DOS computer. This is the best music for this game on the Amiga. It's the best. When my father brought this home around 1992 for the Amiga, and he popped those discs in, and this is what I heard. It's just, I sat there amazed, and I stared at him playing, I stared at the box when he wasn't playing. This music, it just so affects your soul. Now, before I get too far into this one, I'd like to take a minute and just plug the new home for all of my previous and new written reviews, shot97retro.blogspot.com. You can check the comments and the descriptions for the links to the specific written review, and this is going to be the most in-depth written review I've ever done. They're all very in-depth, and they're all very different from the video reviews as well, I should say. So I would please ask you guys to go check that one out, because it's just me now. It's all me. Not that I had any help before, but it's all me, and I'm starting from zero subscribers on these written stuff. So give it a shot if you can. And I say, give it a shot. Wink, wink. Would anyone like to know the origins of my moniker there, Shot? Well, guess what, everybody? It's from this very game that you see in front of you. Now, my father, when he played this game, and when he played all games, and I think even in real life, he went by the call sign of Big Daddy. I think that's a common one. I think a lot of people like the Big Daddy one. That was him. Sometimes he'd be BVD Daddy. And he gave off to me, as I'm sure a sign of affection. he gave to me the moniker of Little Daddy because, well, I'm his son. I'm littler, so Big Daddy, Little Daddy. At some point in probably around 1995, 1996, cute as Little Daddy might have been, I wanted to think up my own call sign, and I did it with this game, and I sat there at the beginning there. You you're immediately put in the train sim, and then you just immediately die, so that gives you the excuse to type in your name. Always love any kind of game that makes it personal by letting you input and letting the game characters themselves speak your name, which, by the way, I cannot stand when real huge fans of this game like to take the name that they later gave this character, which is Christopher Blair. They like to take that name and they like to input it into these original games. And they, for some reason, the guy gave him a call sign of Maverick, too. And this character does not... That's the worst call sign in the world for this character. And by the way, later on in this very game, you will hear Hunter described as the Maverick of the Tiger's Claw. So now, I have nothing against the name Christopher Blair. In fact, my first name is Christopher, and they came up with that name because Chris Roberts, the creator, he's Christopher, and as well as taking the shorthand name that they gave this character in the first two games, which was Blue Hair, because he had that blue streak of hair. So that was Blue Hair. Christopher Blair. That's fine. I like it. I like the name that they gave him because they had to give him a name when you went with live-action actors. Don't give him that name in these original games, these first two games, because it can be so much more personal if you just use your name and you connect with these characters on such a deep level. And part of that reason is because when you first say, belly up friend, take a load off, you must be Shot. I'm Shotglass. I don't believe I don't believe Shotglass had anything to do with me naming myself Shot, by the way. I literally sat there at the Amiga's keyboard for like an hour and just typed in name after name, and who knows? Like, I might have actually typed in a dirty word at first, and then I just went back and I changed it, Shot, and it's just for some reason I connected with that name, Shot. That's always been my name, and very soon after that, in 1997, I added the 97 at the end there. So I'm Shot, and I'm Shot 97 when somebody else has dared to take Shot. Now, one of many things I believe I give my reviews reason to exist in the sea of reviews out there, especially for this game, are my looks at the manuals. Here's Major James Taggart, age 45, from Aries. The laddies coming out of the academy think that I was born, old chuckles Major James Taggart, who is known as Paladin to the space crews. And I just love how occasionally they talk to each other like that. So we went into the Kilrathi. I knew I was going to grab a lance, hop into the cockpit, and change the course of history. And naturally, he jokes, I did. Taggart 45, his native air is a self-sufficient space station built in permanent orbit around the planet Venus. His parents were terraforming engineers from Wick, Scotland. Now, currently in-game, Paladin has given us a bit of tactics, but you look in the manual above there, and you can see Taggart's tactics, and maybe you'll want to stop and read some of that, but we are going to go now to the beautiful, beloved, my soon-to-be girlfriend, Angel. Bless her heart, she already knows my name. Again, you gotta use your real name, it really connects you. Angel 28 from Belgium Earth. I cannot stand rebels or hot doggers or any of these so-called intuitive know-it-alls, quickly explains Captain Janet Devereaux. We have used flying craft in warfare since 1914. As a race, we have nearly 8 centuries of combat flying experience to define, refine, and perfect the rules by which we fly. These are rules designed to keep us alive, keep our wingmen alive, and win our war. Nay, spa, is it not? The 20-year-old Devereaux is a native of Brussels, Belgium. She's widely known for her marksmanship and rate of ship survival. She's never had to eject. So you're going to spend a lot of time in this bar area talking to various pilots, getting some of the story, getting some of the gossip, getting some advice. You have your kill board, which is always a wonderful part of the Wing Commander universe, and I really love how in this game you have separate areas. You have the bar, you have the barracks here. Now, it might not seem like that big of a deal, but trust me, Wing Commander 2 took these areas out in favor of just hitting one door, in favor of looking at all the cutscenes at once, and then Wing Commander 3 brought it back. For the most part in this review, when we take a look at the manuals, I'm going to be showing you the Kilrathi Saga manual, because I still have it. and it is a very faithful representation of the original manual. Which I probably do still have the original manual. I've lost it from time to time, and at various points I find it. So I'm sure it's around somewhere. But if you think I'd never had it, well, look at this picture right there. There I am back in the day. Oh yeah, little shot with his claw marks manual. So I had that one. Where things differ, though, I will be giving you screenshots of the original manual. I'm taking my time here just to show you off of the barracks, just because, well, in the Amiga version, unlike the other versions, this is my favorite music in the entire game. It is such an emotional piece just on the Amiga. I go right past this song when I'm playing it in DOS or any other version. It is exceptionally well done on this Amiga version, and it has made me over and over again go to the barracks to save my game and just sit there and listen to the whole song over and over again. I can't tell you how many times I've done that, and I've never really done that in any of the other versions. So the music, again, it's so powerful, especially on this Amiga port. But it's time to move on now to some more gaming memories. Now, when I was a kid, these mission briefings affected me so much that I would get my friends together. We'd go be right outside, and I would conduct the briefing. And we had, like, miniature planes and stuff. Like the Matchbox cars, but just, planes, very sleek. We had, like, a Harrier jet or something. The various aeroplanes at the time. I had a whole bunch of those things. And I'd take them outside, and we'd put them on a bush or something, and that would be the carrier. That would be the Tiger's Claw. And I would sit there, and I would give my mission briefing to everybody else. Well, then we'd go out, and we'd fly a mission together, and we'd, all kinds of things would happen. We might eject or something. But I did it all in this exact style. Like, I memorized the dialogue and stuff, and I'd say it to them just like it. And it was it's amazing how much this game really affected me. Here's your patrol plan, then. And then here he comes, and he's going to lift up his arm here. And this is exactly what I would do as a kid. And I'd act like I was pointing to some navigation map. It's like, we're going to go to 3 nav points here. Find the Kilrathi, and we're going to kill him. And this is what... And my friends, they really... I believe they really enjoyed this act of role-playing here. And I don't think any of them ever saw the game. But this is how much this game affected me. And when I wasn't with my friends, I was inside the house, I would put the planes on the couch, and the couch was the Tiger's Claw, okay? And then I'd go from one end of the couch, I'd lift up the plane, and I'd zoom it to the other end of the couch. That was me lifting off from the carrier, and then I'd go out through the various areas of the house. And I just can't tell you how much fun I had as a kid playing this game, not actually playing the game, but playing this game in real life, as it were. It's really something else. And here we're going to see another area where the Amiga really pumps it up compared to all the other versions. In the other versions, this isn't even a song, really. It's just, beep, 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 beep. That in the background, that's the alarm bell. But it sounds like it's going with the music in the Amiga version. In the other versions, it's just like a beep, 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 beep. It's an annoying little beep. It really makes it into an event. Running to your ship here, it's like you feel like it's an emergency every time. It's hectic. We gotta get to our ship right now. And speaking of getting into our ships, let's take a look at the Hornet, the ship we're getting into from the manual, which will give you a nice little side view, top-bottom view, and give you some basic statistics about the ship. But all of this is actually included in something else that they give you, and a little bit of goodies they give you along with the game. I got this twice for both the original game and the Kilrathi Saga, is the actual blueprints. They give you blueprints for this thing, and you can look inside of the ship. You want to know where the fuel system is, you want to know where the backup system is, the cockpit, the tracking sensors, the ion drives. It's all there. And in this game, you have systems that can get damaged depending on how hard you're hit and where you are hit, and And when you see those systems damaged, if it says ion drive damage, you can actually look in the game and on this blueprint, and you can see that it corresponds to where you were hit. So the ion drives are in the back, you get hit in the back, you might get your ion drives hit. In the front, in the side there, you might hit your tracking sensors, which means you can no longer get a lock on a target. There's just so much that you can sink your teeth into. It's great. Now we're going to go ahead and take a look at the navigation system, which is an essential part, I believe, in the original Wing Commander. Not so much in all the other Wing Commanders. Even Wing Commander 2, which features essentially the same navigation system, but in this one in particular, and the secret missions as well, you can strategically go to various nav points. You know, say it wants you to go to nav 1. Maybe we don't go to nav 1. Now, there's an asteroid field at nav 2, which is a very hard part in this very first mission. And very hard to pitch you up against the asteroid field in the very first mission. But let's say you don't want to deal with that. Say you keep dying on that. Well, you can go directly from the Tiger's Claw to the asteroid field. Just get that out of the way. And then you can go to a nav 1 or nav 3, and so on. And you can just take care of that asteroid field, you know, before you go to nav 1, deal with the enemies here, defeat them. Then you go to nav 2, you go to the asteroid field, and then you get your ass kicked in the asteroid field. And then you got to go all the way over and do nav 1 again. So there is a strategic element in using the navigational system. So here we are taking a look at the Kilrathi, or the Flying Pancake, as it is affectionately known throughout the Wing Commander fans. And I think in game too, they will refer to it as the Flying Pancake from time to time. There are several types of missions in Wing Commander. Now we are currently on a patrol, and in the manual it says you are assigned to a flight pattern through unsecured territory. You can decide whether to engage the enemy or to head on to base. This is where a lot of novice and some experienced pilots make lethal errors. Nobody likes to back down. Well, tough. Nobody wants to talk to your widow or widower either. Consider the situation carefully before engaging the enemy. Besides being on patrol, we're also in the midst of what some Wing Commander fans probably think is the worst type of mission, or the second worst type of mission. It's either escorting, or it's any mission which features asteroids, and I absolutely love it. I love the asteroids. They do slow down the game quite a bit on the Amiga, and the game itself, I haven't spoken about it yet, because honestly, it doesn't affect me very much. I really enjoy this game on the Amiga, and I have it on DOS, and if you ask me, the way people play Wing Commander via DOS box these days, it's too fast. People are playing it faster than it was ever designed for in DOS. I'm telling you all. It was never designed to go that fast in DOS. The Amiga was always a little bit slow, so I'm not going to condemn anybody if you want to get your accelerator cards out for this particular game. If I had an accelerator card, this would be pretty much the one and only game I would consider using it for with the Amiga, because honestly, it's all fine with me. The Amiga speed is just fine, and I also have the 8 megabytes of RAM, which does speed it up quite a bit. Look, I played this game like 4 times for this review and the picture review and such. If I can do that 4 times, so can anybody else. It's still enjoyable. Here we are landing on the Tiger's Claw, and I don't have that many gaming memories to associate with my mom, but this is actually one of them that I associate with my mom, because when I remember playing this game, I remember dying so often in the asteroids. I always die as a kid. Die in the asteroids, but occasionally I'd get past the asteroids, or I just skip the asteroids or something, and I come to the Tiger's Claw, and then I die crashing into the Tiger's Claw because I couldn't figure out how the hell I'm supposed to land. So I would have my mom sit there, and she would read the manual to me. And I could read at this point, but I wasn't the best reader, and I couldn't quite comprehend it all. I think Wing Commander helped me quite a bit, because you saw that picture earlier of me with claw marks. Like, the manual was destroyed because I read it so often, but originally, in order to make sense of exactly what it wanted me to do, I had to communicate to the Tiger's Claw. I had to request landing. I had to navigate to the front of the ship and then you hit slow down to a certain, about 100 kilometers a second, and then it finally lets you land. When I first landed the first time, because I died countless times trying to land, the first time I actually made it, it was such an incredible feeling of euphoria for a little shot there. Upon completing the mission, you are sent to debriefing with Colonel Halkin here. Halkin is not given much of a backstory in terms of the manual or in the game itself. You don't really feel like you ever get to know him much, but he is pretty much, besides Shotglass, he is the one you speak to the most. So you will end up getting a bit of a connection with the Colonel here. Now, depending on your success or failure in the mission, he might be happy with you. He might be, less than happy with you. And you're actually going to feel quite disappointed, and you're going to feel regrets when he's disappointed in you. And I'll show that a little bit later on when we show off some of the alternative, the branching storyline that this game will present you with. On completing a mission, you will be sent back to the bar where you can confer with your fellow pilots. Here you flew with Spirit today, Shot. She's a quiet little thing, but she's a heck of a flyer. She's rock steady, follows orders, don't fire till she's sure of her shot. Shotglass is the integral part that ties the ship together. He will give you nice information about your wingmen. He will give you, the latest gossip that's going around the ship, the latest gossip that's going around in terms of the war. Your Spirit, who we flew with earlier. Let's see what the manual has to say about Spirit here. She's 23 and from Japan. Lieutenant Tanaka Marco goes by the tag Spirit, a rough translation of Kimi, as she was called by the Japanese pilot instructors responsible for initial training. In the cockpit, Spirit is known for deceptive defensive piloting, her ability to sense and avoid incoming fire, and her habit of creeping in as close as possible to a target before cutting loose with her ship's weaponry. Now, sitting next to Spirit is Captain Ian St. John, call sign Hunter. He is 27 and from Australia. Captain Ian St. John Hunter of the space crew is known as a seat-of-the-pants flyer, and Kilrathi opponents tend to be baffled by his spontaneous flying style. But the friendly 27-year-old from Brisbane, Australia, is sometimes accused of excessive independence and a casual attitude towards regulations. Maybe so, he explains, but I'd never leave my wingler flying solo. But all the fucking things we're given, ships, weapons, training, and all standing regs, are there for us to push to the limit, and maybe a little further. Another nod to the incredible atmosphere of this game. You have service ribbons that is awarded to you, depending on certain criteria you meet. Ace for 5 confirmed kills, 5, 10, 15 missions, etc. 25 confirmed kills. So now we are on an escort mission, where we are assigned to guard larger ships on rendezvous assignments, fly parallel to the ship you're escorting at a maximum distance of 2,500 meters, and keep your eyes open. In the face of oncoming hostiles, don't break and engage too soon. The best time to break formation is when the hostiles have penetrated within 5,000 meters of the ship you are protecting. And I touched on it before, but again, this is one of the Wing Commander fans' worst nightmares are the escorting missions, I suppose. Not for me. I enjoy the escort. I enjoy variety. I always enjoy variety. Although when I think back into the day, these were the things I had the most trouble with. The escorting missions, and they are usually the essential mission in a series that decides whether or not you failed the overall system or you've succeeded and where you will go in the branching storyline. It's usually the escorting missions that have the most to do with that. And again, not only are we escorting, but they threw in the other thing we all hate is the asteroids, which again I love. The asteroids are like the swimming levels in Mario. I love the variety. Upon completing this mission successfully, Colonel Halkin here is going to want to see us in his office. So, what could that mean? Colonel Halkin's office. I remember my dad is like, uh-oh, what do we do? Retro, come in. We need to speak with you. We'll be leaving Enio soon. I need to make some personnel changes. This is where we are going to be promoted to a new ship. We only get 2 missions in the good old Hornet if you succeed in the escorting mission. We'll now be flying a Scimitar class medium fighter. You won't be sorry for that at all. As, we can also be promoted, to first lieutenant, captain, major, etc. Right now we're just the second lieutenant. And in this mission, too, if you are so good enough, like I am, well, you can win yourself a medal. How about that? There are 5 medals in total that you can win. This mission, you can only win a bronze star, and it's awarded for exceptional bravery under fire. You can also win the silver star, which is awarded for exceptional bravery against overwhelming opposition. When a recipient wins additional silver star, an extra bar is affixed to the top of the ribbon area. And the gold star, awarded for exceptional bravery against hopeless. So these things are a little out of order for some reason in the manual. You may also win the golden sun, which is awarded for surviving the destruction of one ship, but you only get that one once, or the wonderful elusive Terran Confederation Medal of Honor, also nicknamed the Pooter Planet. This is the highest medal awarded for military personnel, which we will be receiving at the end of this game. I remember my dad, when he first did this, he looked at me slyly, looked to the side so we could do it, and he saluted in person. And he just made sure to look at me and make sure that I was impressed. Now, if you're a subscriber to this channel, this is not going to surprise you, but if you're just peeking in as a Wing Commander fan, I'm sure you're going to be surprised that I'm actually going to dive into the branching storylines here. I'm going to go to what happens when you fail the missions, what changes, what stays the same. Here's an example of a landing when the autopilot puts you at a different angle from the ship. Now, originally when I showed it to you in the first mission, it's nice enough to point you directly at the front of the ship, but otherwise you might have to actually steer yourself, and it's good to go into the views here, F2 or F3, to go to the side views and just maneuver your ship until you get to the front of it. Making this very powerful music changes when you've failed a mission to be very somber, disappointing. It really affects you. The disappointment in the Colonel's face there, and really affects you. It makes you want to succeed as much as humanly possible. New pilots to meet, everybody. From British Columbia, Major Michael Casey is known as Iceman to most of the crews. His reputation for being cool under fire, letter-perfect flying technique, and deadly aim with ship's weapon, a combination that spells disaster for Kilrathi opponents. From South Africa, Captain Joseph Kamulu, known to the crew as Knight, admits that his piloting accomplishments don't dot the record books, yet wing leaders tend to breathe a sigh of relief when they draw Kamulu as wingman. Knight has a reputation of utter reliability in combat. You know, the reason I'm showing you all these excerpts from the manual is because I can't show you everything in the game because it's a review, but I really need to impress upon everybody just how attached you can get to these people. You know, it's not just in the bar that you get attached to them here, and I cannot tell you how I'm looking forward to it, Colonel. You know, they say these little things in the briefing room sometimes. It all really helps to get these characters endeared to your heart. And when we go to another system, we get a new wingman. Here we have Paladin flying the wonderful, beautiful Scimitar, which I think gets far too much hate within the Wing Commander universe. The games themselves love to crap on the wonderful Scimitar. I love this ship. It's not that much slower than the Hornet. It is by far a more powerful vessel in terms of the guns and the missiles. And I quite honestly, I feel like it's the second best ship in the game. It's definitely better than the Hornet, without a doubt. And I believe it might be better than the Rapier as well. And the Rapier is touted within the game as the best, obviously the best ship in the entire game by all these pilots and the Colonel. Is like, it's going to be so great. It's such a great ship. I think they're all full of shit. Anyway, with besides the asteroids, we also have another debris type of thing to deal with, and that is the mines. Now, the mines are usually not the greatest threat in the world. You can fly right into them usually, and you'll just get, maybe your shields will get knocked down, maybe your armor will get knocked down. You don't usually die from the mines. In fact, you can usually just afterburn straight through them without any damage whatsoever. But nevertheless, they are there, and perhaps they might cause you some issues. But we got some new kids on the block. Fresh from the Academy, Second Lieutenant Todd Marshall, known as Maniac by his graduating class. Marshall 23 tries hard to live up to his moniker. Plodding along with your joystick in one hand and a copy of the naval regs in the other is not going to press the Kilrathi, he says. They know our regs. They know the book. They know how we do things. If we're going to put them in the ropes, we have to adapt our rules, tactics, and flying styles. We have to outfly them, outflight them. We've got to want it more, and I want it. And the last pilot for us to meet from Taiwan, Major Chen Ken, is known as Bossman to the space crews, but that wasn't always the case. They used to call me Ripper. My friends still do. When I started burying young pilots who had been killed for behaving like me, I decided to give them an example that would not get them blown out of the space. This is when they started calling me Bossman. Now it's time for our first strike mission where we're assigned to destroy an enemy target, usually a capital ship. Obviously, the idea is to get in quick, launch missiles, blow the thing up, and get out quicker. Unfortunately, the enemy usually decides to defend any target worth destroying. This is where the wing leader-wingman relationship becomes especially critical. The wing leader must get his missiles placed, and the wingman must keep him alive so he can do it. This means that, at the cost of his own personal objectives, the wingman must stick to his wing leader like glue, take out oncoming fighters before they can take out his wing leader, and only drop his own missiles if he has a clear opportunity. Now, there are several different strategies for dealing with capital ships. I am of the mindset to usually take out the fighter cover first, and then approach them from the ass here. It seems to be where I succeed in most of the time. There are exceptions. On occasion, you'll want to go in head first and just get those things out as quickly as possible. Now, I'd like to switch gears a little bit and talk about the branching storylines now. If you fail, you'll go down a separate series of missions where you can possibly have different conversations that go along. But I will say, a lot of people will give this game a hell of a lot of credit for its branching and pass. But having played this game 4 times for this review and many times over the years, I will say that the branching, while it is incredible for any game back then and today, it really does deserve a lot of credit for what it tried to do. I will have to say, though, that for the most part, what you will see in these missions is the same type of mission. So, the good set of missions that we went on in the Scimitar, you're still going to have, the patrol first, and then, you might have an escorting mission. But the thing that changes the most is that on the good side, you'll have like a strike mission where you'll take out an enemy carrier. On the bad set of missions, instead of the strike mission, you will have a defensive mission where you'll have to either defend the Tiger's Claw or defend some kind of Terran capital ship. Now, that is the extent of the changes for the most part, and also the very big and hard change is that you'll still be faced with the much harder to deal with ships. We're still on the Hornet. We can be on the Hornet for many missions, and some of them can be quite difficult to deal with. We could face some of the toughest ships that the Kilrathi have in this Hornet here. So there's definitely harder missions, but for the most part they are fairly similar, and the dialogue, for the most part, is fairly similar as well. And here's an example of another thing that really attaches you to these pilots. We're gathered here to pay our last respects to a good friend and one of the Terran Confederation's boldest defenders. Major James Taggart, one of our most seasoned veterans, has fallen in battle with the Kilrathi. We will all miss Paladin's friendship, his wealth of experience, and his tales of the first battles against the Kilrathi. They can die. All of your wingmen, they can die. It really can affect you when you die. You don't want them to die. And you'll say your own little words here. Goodbye, Paladin. Try to remember what you've taught me. Each pilot, when they die, you'll say something different. The colonel will say something a little different. You don't want these guys to die. And you will feel. This is the biggest part of really feeling the connection with these wingmen is the fact that They can die, and I remember many times playing this game back in the day and having a whole flood of them die. And pretty much when that happens, guess what, everybody? You're gonna go to the bar, and guess what? Somebody's missing. Somebody is missing there, aren't they? And that's really a gut-wrenching experience, because you can miss out on everything they could ever say in the rest of the game. You're gonna miss out on that, and it really affects you. And sometimes they'll even talk about it. I'm glad to see you and Paladin were getting along so well. He was supposed to retire soon, The flying fighters for 20-odd years. He buys it a month before his retirement. Now, unlike your friends in the Confederation, the Kilrathi do not get too much development that goes on. Not too much is devoted to your enemies. Save for some excerpts from the manual in terms of these Kilrathi aces. There are several of them. Here we are fighting Starkiller Narkasaki. Best known among the Kilrathi aces as Brock. Dubbed Starkiller, he is regarded as the best living pilot among the Kilrathi in the sector and flies a Southie light fighter. Strength, Brock's an excellent pilot and shot. He is an optimal freeless, and no serious weaknesses can be detected in his flying style. Weaknesses: psych profiles indicate that Brock is probably addicted to speed, thrills, and sport. Though a courageous pilot, he is not without a survival instinct. A sufficient number of opponents or a sudden turn in fortune can convince him to retreat. Brock likes to dogfight. He prefers a maneuverable foe and standard dogfighting tactics. He almost always uses the ship's laser cannon, reserving his dumbfire missile for stationary targets. It even gives you some recommendations there. And again, to show off the branching side of things and the very same series of missions, you will fight Brock, except with your Hornet, which is going to be a much, tougher battle. But it's all very similar in terms of the branching. Here we are in the Scimitar coming home, and you see we've taken a little bit of damage. All the ships can take various sorts of damage, and again, when you land, you'll get to see that damage. Well, some of the various cutscenes that show up on your screen, I'm going to take a look at some reviews for you from May of 1993, the American magazine Amiga World. Again, 1993, people. Everyone thinks that Amiga was nothing in America. Well, 1993, guys. Break out the champagne. We've been waiting for these two flyboys to buzz the Amiga for some time now. The Space Combat Games Wing Commander, an import from UK's Mindscape International, $39.95, and Epic. For some reason, they decided to combine these two reviews. That was not a thing they did very often. Both games are solid and engrossing, each in its very own different way, but I have to fess up, anyone who plays Wing Commander on a speedy machine first isn't likely to be bowled over by Epic afterward. Wing Commander will, quite simply, blow you away. Wing Commander is a superb translation of Chris Times of Laura Roberts' origin game for the IBM. You're a fighter pilot newly assigned to the Tiger's Claw, a space-word version of an aircraft carrier. He's about to take on an aggressive race of sentient felines called the Kilrathi. The ships aren't the polygon constructs you've seen from games like Elite, Starglider, Federation, or Xephos either. They look like real ships, multicolored and odd-shaped, and once they've taken a couple of hits against weak shields, they'll begin to disintegrate like real ships. The capital ship looks like a great slab of metal hanging in space, and nothing blows up as gorgeously as a Kilrathi destroyer. Wing Commander uses a tree structure that plots the story along different tracks according to your success against Kilrathi. If you fail too often, you are forced to fall back. You should play once just to play and damn the consequences, and then play again to win. Some folks will grouse, there's a word there, that it displays only 32 colors compared to the IBM's 256, but we're not getting short shrift. Well, actually, in Amiga World, there are only 16 colors, but I can understand how you might think there are 32, because look at the EGA version if you wanna see how bad 16 colors can look, and then look at the Amiga. Woohoo! Yeah, we got it. Looks good, guys. The music, by contrast, has a real John Williams-style flair and easily surpasses the synthetic version that accompanied the IBM original. I found the joystick controls significantly tighter and the craft generally more responsive. They then, in my opinion, needlessly bash the controls in the carrier for some reason. I think they're just fine. But the real major issue here is speed. Bitmaps moves more slowly than polygons. Wing Commander runs brilliantly on a machine equipped with a 68-30 or 040, and an 020 is more than adequate. On an unaccelerated Amiga 500, however, it's decidedly slow. Gamers using this machine may want to consider Epic instead. I would disagree. And I would disagree strong. I believe these people, they played it on a faster Amiga first, and then they played it on the slower Amiga, and that is how they get their taint there. No, I played it on the Amiga 500 first, and this game absolutely is one of the greatest games I've ever played, and specifically on the Amiga 500. It didn't affect me any less than it would have anybody else playing. We loved Wing Commander just as much as anybody else who played it on a faster machine did, I am telling you. And quite a few DOS people were playing it on pretty slow machines back in the day, I have to say. And while the review is mostly solid in terms of Wing Commander fan, I do have to say, I think they made a big mistake with combining both Epic and Wing Commander together. I mean, reviewers, critics, they're cynical enough. I mean, why take a game that you like Epic, and then put it against a game that you like more, like Wing Commander? It's really, it is not what you want to do. Can anything inspired by Lauren Green and Dirk Benedict be good? Actually, yes. And Epic is, just not as good as Wing Commander. That's how they finish it off. And yeah, I think they made a mistake there. And here, the brilliant young career of Shot is cut short. Who can say what Shot might have accomplished for the Confederation? Prepare those arms. Farewell. I will be missed. And that is one way to end the game there. Now, there are a few flaws in the branching storyline system that they set up here. And part of that is there are two missions in particular where they are designed pretty much for you to fail. And here I am winning this mission. That's why I died earlier, is because this mission in particular, it is designed for you to fail. Because if you win this mission, you end up skipping this area, this Brimstone system that you see here. You end up skipping an entire system, and in this system is where you will have Maniac as your wingman. You'll miss this whole section, and it has actual unique storyline, unique things that the characters will say, unique missions. You will utterly miss this huge section of the game if you end up winning. So think of it like this. There is the good run. In terms of the branching storyline, there is the good missions, there are the bad missions, the failure missions, but then there is the in-between missions. There is a middle section where you can get on that track, from either the good or the bad. If you do good on the bad ones, you can go to this middle section. Now, the mission you see here is one of the more unique missions, and you're only going to see it on the bad track, actually, is in a Hornet, we are escorting an extra-class destroyer through the asteroid field. It's really... some of these missions, now, overall, they're pretty much the same, but some of them, they're quite good, and they're quite challenging. They're actually hard. They are definitely harder on the bad side. So like Amiga World, I would strongly recommend anybody that's coming to this game for the first time, just play it through and damn the consequences, okay? I think, again, unfortunately, I think most people are probably going to die. They're going to die more often than they are going to, fail a mission. In terms of historical relevance, while this game is so unique in terms of its branching storyline, in the end, I don't know if it did enough in terms of the branching storyline, and in the end, no games really followed suit to this very day, including the Wing Commander series. They gave it up. Now, it's been a little while since I've shown you some of the glorious personalities here. Here's Maniac, hoping to see some action soon. He's looking forward to scoring some more kills, and I touched on it in my Wing Commander 4 review, but here's the proof that we were never enemies with Maniac here. Why does he hate us so much in Wing Commander 3 when he likes us pretty much in Wing Commander 1? Now, we didn't like him, and nobody else liked him, but Maniac himself he liked everybody pretty much. Like, he didn't dislike you. So why in Wing Commander 3 does he hate us so much? I really don't like that aspect that they changed his character there. I wouldn't want you to trouble Iceman or Hunter with a routine patrol. There's always lavatories to scrub if you'd rather. And if Maniac gives you any static, you have my permission to shoot him to pieces. Should I use missiles, sir, or ship's guns? Guns, Shot. Save your missiles for important targets. I love. What? And these missions with Maniac and Brimstone, they are very good missions. As well as later on missions in Rostov with Iceman. They're very good missions that you're going to want to play, so maybe you should consider, if you're really good, ejecting or something, or losing intentionally in order to see these missions, because unlike an Angel or Knight or something, you'll see these wingmen, no matter if you're on the good side or the bad side, you're going to have the same wingmen. These middle section areas with Maniac and Iceman, you're not going to see them unless you win the bad missions or you fail the good missions, so keep that in mind. Now, since the game itself only really provides us with glimpses of the actual enemy in the Kilrathi, we're going to again take a look at the manual for a bit of the history. 25 years ago, exploration colonization ships of the Terran Confederation increased their penetration into Vegas sector. On 2629.105, 315, 2629, Terran Reckoning, the exploration ship Iceman encounters a spacecraft of unknown origin. Tidora Anthropoulos beams standard wideband nonverbal greeting designed by the Committee for Interaction with Alien Intelligences. Captain Anthropoulos keeps Iceman motionless for 22 minutes standard while the alien vessel waits. Finally, the alien vessel opens with all guns utterly destroying Iceman at all hands. 20 years ago, on 2634.186, war is formally declared by the Terran Confederation on the Empire of Kilrathi for countless acts of piracy and unwarranted assault. On 2634.228, Confederation cryptographer Chess M. Penny partially decodes the current Kilrathi cipher. The intercepted message refers to a punitive strike being launched against the Confederation, starting with a colony on McCullough and the space station Alexandria in orbit around it. Confederation High Council launches a counter-offensive twice the size of the anticipated enemy fleet. It is to reach McCullough first and ambush the attackers on 2634.235. The Kilrathi fleet reaches McCullough. It is 4 times the predicted size. The incomplete translation of the intercepted messages had underestimated the size of the Kilrathi offensive. So begins the McCullough ambush engagement. In several days of bloody combat, the Terran fleet is all but obliterated, leaving a still sizable force of functional Kilrathi spacecraft, with the Kilrathi momentarily daunted by the ferocity of the Terran resistance, turned back to regroup and repair. The first large-scale Terran Kilrathi engagement ends with the Kilrathi spearhead momentarily broken. 15 years ago, on 2639.033, Kilrathi occupation forces land on the human-occupied world of Enyo, put 250,000 human prisoners under orbital guns and await Terran reprisals. So begins the Enyo engagement, a tactical situation made difficult by the presence of so many hostages. Phase 1 of the Enyo engagement involves bringing in an attack force against the Kilrathi fleet at Enyo. The attack force consists principally of Raptor-class heavy fighters reconfigured to carry extra propellant space mines and practically no missiles. The force is small enough that Kilrathi forces at Enyo are certain of victory. The Phase 1 forces drop their space mines in one region of space near Enyo and engage the enemy. Kilrathi space maneuver to get out of the mined region and turn their attention to destroying the invaders. By the time the Kilrathi navigators realize that the mined region corresponds to Enyo's principal jump point, it is too late. Phase 2 has begun. A single radio signal detonates all the specially modified propellant mines, and moments later the remainder of the Terran fleet appears at that jump point. In the middle of the engagement, the Terran ships strike first against the gunships threatening the human colonies. The enemy ships are destroyed with minimal loss of life among the colonists. Then 2 fleets settle in for a pounding match. The annual engagement ends with the Kilrathi in retreat. Losses have been nearly identical between the 2 fleets, but the Kilrathi have been forced to abandon a strategic position. And here is possibly the most emotional ending of the entire game. Is Your carrier has been destroyed, and you drift. You drift endlessly through the void. Now, it's kind of hard to get to this point because the Tiger's Claw is very hard to kill, and I had to just, kind of let it. I just had to kind of let it go. And then the scrolling zoomed out the end. That is a very dramatic ending. It's the most dramatic ending of them all. It's very emotional, I have to say. I remember getting that as a kid. I'm like, oh, I was so sad getting that ending. 5 years ago, Terran ground forces launching an attack on a fortified Kilrathi colonial position, routed by unexpected Kilrathi fighter craft sport. The Terrans quickly reform and advance back into Terran space, their lightly armed transport pursued by Kilrathi warships. TCS Tiger's Claw is detached from its previous station and sent to the Terran fleet's path. Tiger's Claw fights a delaying action, subsequently called Custer's Carnival, to allow the Terran fleet time to reach Terran-controlled space. Though swarmed and badly damaged by Kilrathi fighter craft, the carrier occupies Kilrathi forces until the Terran fleet reaches safety. The Claw is able to limp back into Terran space, though 3/4 of its engines are destroyed and half its pilots are listed as casualties. Subsequently, 2 gold stars and numerous other medals are awarded to Tiger's Claw personnel, and the carrier spends 6 months in space dock being repaired and refitted. Now we come to what might be the hardest mission in the entire game here, is rescuing a Rallery. Captured Rallery, we have to bring it back home. This is actually the hardest, probably the hardest mission in the game, maybe other than the final Hell's Kitchen one, although you can just eject in that one and sort of win too. But this one might be the hardest to actually complete. And I don't always complete it, but it is something I have completed many times in my life. Just like the previous one with the extra, you arrive on scene and there's already a whole bunch of ships going at it, ready to pounce, and you gotta just afterburn in, you gotta throw out some missiles, go to the next ship. It's a really hard one, and it's designed for you to fail, because when you fail, you then go into the middle path and you get to play more missions than you would have. If you play every mission perfectly, or if you just utterly suck at all the missions and you fail them all, you get about 18 missions maybe. But if you play those middle paths, you will get, good, like maybe 25 missions total. So you actually get more gameplay by doing that. But still, it's in effect, it is, it's kind of a cheating kind of thing. And from a design perspective, you're not rewarded. You're not rewarded for winning this. You're actually punished for winning, because then you miss out. You miss out on the seeing those extra missions. 40 missions in total, but you're only gonna see at most half of them by playing this. And I used my win there as an excuse to reload the mission and eject to show you the ejection sequence and get my medal for having ejected. You get a medal for ejecting. That's what I chose to do, and that's often what I do, so I can have that extra gameplay. And here, I always find these glitches. I swear to God, I always find these glitches when I play games. I don't ever remember seeing this. The Rallery literally became invisible on me. That is, I don't ever remember coming across that particular one, so I think I died and I had to reload that one, and that's a funny one, I have to say. So now I want to get into my tug and pull relationship with this particular version on the Amiga over the years. It's a complicated relationship, actually, that I have with this version. Now, as a kid, I absolutely adored it, and I loved the Amiga version. It affected me on so many levels. I couldn't wait to get home and either watch my dad play it or play it myself. And again, all those memories of landing the first time and dying and such. I adored this game. When my dad would play other games like Dungeon Crawlers or something, I'd be looking at the box, and sometimes I'd ask him. I asked him several times, "Did we play Wing Commander? Did you play Wing Commander?" So I definitely adored this game. I loved the music. I loved the graphics, and while the graphics are not as good as the DOS original, I'm telling you, they are utterly fantastic, and they could have done a little better. Nick Pelling could have done a little better with this version, especially in the bar scenes. Now, you don't really notice the graphic issues in combat. In fact, the game was originally designed, the combat, the spaceships and such were originally designed on the Amiga before DOS. They did them in deluxe paint and stuff on the Amiga, and then they ported it to DOS. The combat areas, they look utterly amazing. I wouldn't be surprised if DOS itself was not utterly using the 256 colors when it came to combat. So I'm not going to go into the Nick Pelling story, because it's it's already been covered, and it's a fascinating one, by the way, if you want to do it. Origin, it should have been done a lot sooner, but Nick Pelling, the sole designer for the Amiga port, got sick, and they thought he might die, and Origin was prepared to let the game for the Amiga die with Nick Pelling if that happened, but he routed from it, and he came back, and he ported it. And one of the things Origin said about the Amiga port was, well, this one, it must run on the Amiga 500. no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You know, if it can't run on the 500, then it's not worth it to us, and Origin didn't think it could even be done, because the game originally comes on like 11 discs for DOS, and then it only comes on 3 discs for the Amiga. And that was a thing, a little arrogance thing, I think, with from Nick Pelling's point of view, because he looked at American code, and it's like, these Americans, they can't code worth shit. While Origin wanted it on the 500, Nick himself, I believe, wanted it on 3 discs, and I think that is where you get the bad graphics when it comes to the cutscenes in the bar and such. That is where you get just the 16 color graphics, because people don't realize just how much graphics have to do with storage on the device itself. It has little to do with the actual capabilities of the system. Obviously, the Amiga could handle 32, it could handle 64 if it wanted, it could handle 4096. Nick wanting this game to be on 3 discs specifically is what caused this game to be forced into 16 color mode throughout the entirety of the game, when the Amiga 500 itself was more than capable of handling 32 colors or 64 colors inside of the bar scenes and such. So this is where some of my complicated feelings come from when it comes to the Amiga. Now, when I got the Kilrathi Saga version for Windows 95, I looked at the Kilrathi Saga. This was my first time experiencing the 256 colors, and the Kilrathi Saga had quote-unquote orchestral music. I pretty much immediately wanted to see the Amiga version again. I'm like, what is with this? It's not right. The music was not as good as the Amiga version, and I even thought the graphics weren't as good as the Amiga version. I was wrong about that. DOS does have better graphics, although I will say that I enjoy the graphics, and it was through later on going online for the first times and such, going on to some of these Amiga forums back in the day, in the late 90s, early 2000s, and seeing other people's opinions about the Amiga version. This is how I was tainted. I was influenced by these other people who seemed to not like the Amiga version, and it's like, again, so many people online is like, oh, you didn't take advantage of the Amiga, and they are willing to punch you out because you didn't take advantage of the Amiga. So let me set the record straight. Wing Commander on the Amiga is the best port of Wing Commander that exists, period, for any system. It is the best absolute port, and it is you have a reason to play this. Even if you love the DOS version, you have a reason to play this. You should experience the Amiga version of Wing Commander. It is a must play for any fan of Wing Commander. Nick Pelling did a fabulous job of porting this game, and while he could have maybe done a little better in terms of the cutscenes, graphics, the whole thing, when played on a CRT monitor on their actual Amiga 500, is beautiful, and it gives you an aged look. It gives the whole, like, you're supposed to be in this 50-year-long war, and this whole thing, like, it gives it this dithered look, and it really it helps you. This is why I thought as a kid in the 1997 when the Kilrathi Saga came out, I actually felt that the Amiga version looked better, and that was because of this dithering graphics. And the other thing is that when I these people online who bitched about it, and then I would play it, and I would play it on an emulator, probably in PAL mode. And again, even though this game was designed by Nick Pelling in Europe, this is an example of a game that, because of its original design in America for DOS, is actually an NTSC game, guys. It is supposed to be an NTSC mode where you get the correct 4:3 aspect ratio. It's not. This game was already designed within the game to have that widescreen look for the cutscenes. And when you look at this game in PAL mode, it gives it an utterly horrific and ugly super widescreen, ultra widescreen mode. It looks terrible. This game is meant to be displayed in 4:3 in combat, and in certain sections it's meant to display entirely on a CRT 4:3 monitor correctly, and then within the cutscenes it's designed to have that cinematic feel, and that is where you get the widescreen within the game, and you can only properly experience that in NTSC mode. And in America, this game, it played faster in NTSC mode, guys, so it's a game that, although it was designed in Europe, it actually plays better and looks correct in NTSC mode, and I beg everybody to consider that when they cover the Amiga version of this game, please. It is a fantastic game. It is a must-play. And again, the Amiga version specifically, Amiga 500 OCS, not the CD32, because then it's just the same graphics as DOS. You want, it's actually better when you get it with those 16 colors. It's different. So I want to point you guys to the other Wing Commander videos I've already covered. I've done Wing Commander 4 for DOS, big in-depth one there, and I've done Wing Commander Secret Missions 1.5, quote-unquote there, special DOS version of the 3DO Macintosh Super Wing Commander. Check out those videos. I'll do them all eventually, but in the meantime, you can check those out and subscribe if you want to. And please check out my written review for Wing Commander on my new platform, Blogspot, shot97retro.blogspot.com. See you all later. Goodbye. Subscribe if you want to. Bye.